Hello there, manic.mercurian here. I am an astrologer, and more importantly for this video, I am a Virgo, and I was actually raised by Virgo. I've had Virgo friends and coworkers, so I feel like I'm qualified as anyone to talk about this. So the first thing I wanted to say is that this title of this video is actually a bit misleading because Virgos value authenticity, right? And so if you're going out of your way to change some aspect of yourself in order to appease the Virgo, or to get the Virgo to like you, they're going to see right through that, and they will most likely be immediately turned off by that. So unfortunately, you're going to have to be authentic and raw, right? And whether you match up with the Virgo or not, it kind of just depends on chance, right? It just depends on true chemistry. Okay. But yeah, let's get a little bit deeper into this. So what does a Virgo want? That's actually probably a more accurate title. That's more what we're going to talk about today. So on the one hand, it may seem very confusing. Virgos kind of overthink everything. They are complicated, right? But on the other hand, like at the same exact time, they're actually kind of simple. So they are as simple as they are complicated, and what they're seeking, what they're desiring, what they value is simple as well as complicated. So what do I mean by that? Basically, like what they want is very basic. It's very traditional. They're wanting, how do I put this? Like in a way, they're wanting what theoretically or ideally every person really should be. They're wanting someone genuine, kind, intelligent, someone who takes care of their shit, so to speak, someone who's responsible, right? Someone who's real and honest. And again, when you add it all together, I can see how that may seem overwhelming. How do I do all of this? These are some high standards, but welcome to the world of Virgo. This is what Virgo expects of themselves. And so this is also what they're going to expect from a partner, or in other words, this is what they're going to desire from someone else as well. Someone who's kind of, I don't want to say a jack of all trades necessarily, but they are well-rounded. That's a better way to put it. Someone who is well-rounded. And if we get even more specific, what a Virgo wants will be specific to them. And this leads me to my next point. Virgos like to make sense of things. So for a Virgo to like you, you need to make sense to them. That doesn't necessarily mean like agreeing with everything they say or having the same opinions. What I'm more talking about is, like, for example, you don't necessarily you don't have to be like this perfect person. You don't have to be like super tidy and organized. Virgos are often somewhat cluttered themselves, but only, they do whatever makes sense to them. So for example, depending on the person and their placements, a Virgo may have like a very cluttered living room. But if that's what makes sense to them, if they are, prioritizing other things and maybe they're working a lot or spending time with their kids, maybe it makes sense to them to neglect that part of the house to some extent. Does that make sense? So these are the standards that they have for themselves. These are the standards that they will have for you as well. To some extent, this will vary depending on the specific Virgo and their logic or their opinions. But keep in mind, Virgos are very opinionated. Whatever their logic is, they feel that they approach their opinions in such a logical way that they feel that they are objectively correct. And maybe that's true to some extent, but it gets really interesting when you compare multiple Virgos together, because each one is going to have their own different set of opinions depending on their experiences and their information and things like that, right? So again, it's hard to even address this without basically addressing that each Virgo standards are going to be unique to them depending on what makes sense to them. So if you are thinking about a specific person, just I guess you would need to get to know them to some extent, right? And again, it's like, is that so demanding? Shouldn't that just be kind of basic, right? Get to know them and understand, what makes sense to them. This is especially true if they have Venus in Virgo as well, but also any placements in Virgo. What makes sense to them? Do you make sense to them? Does your whole relationship, whatever the nature of that relationship is, Does it make sense to them? Is it logical from their point of view? Because that's what's going to be necessary for them to want you, basically, or like you, or whatever I titled this. I don't remember. But anyway, those are my thoughts. I know that wasn't a whole lot, but I guess I just want to end this by going back to that whole theme of it's simple, but it's complicated. Yes, you have to be this well-rounded person. It may feel very pressurized, but again, those are the standards that the Virgo holds themselves to. And ideally, these are the standards that everyone faces to some extent. You don't have to be perfect. No one's perfect. The Virgo, whoever they are, they're very aware of how imperfect they are, okay? So you don't have to be perfect. You just have to make sense. They want to understand you. They want to make sense of you. And you'll know if they are attracted to you. Well, let me actually take a step back. So for one, Virgos are often shy. They may come across very dry and emotionless at times, but they're actually very sensitive. The Virgo men in particular don't usually want to admit this, that they are shy or sensitive, but they very much are. So their attraction to you may be very subtle. It may be easy to miss. They're also very humble, so they're not going to have like super grandiose displays of affection. But if you have this kind of keen awareness, you'll notice that if they like you, it's like they're studying you. They're kind of watching you. I've actually been listening to videos on how to tell if an Aquarius likes you, and to me, it's actually kind of weirdly reminiscent of how to tell if a Virgo likes you, at least in my mind, because to some extent, they'll do the same thing. They'll kind of study you, observe you, watch you. They want to learn about you. Again, they want to make sense of you. They want to understand you. And Virgo loves learning about things. So whatever, piques their interest, if you pique their interest, if you are this kind of raw person that is unique and honest and well-rounded and some part of you makes sense to them or is interesting to them, they're going to want to learn everything about you. So if you are very aware, you'll notice them kind of studying you and figuring you out. Anyway, so those are my thoughts. I hope that was interesting or helpful. If you want more random astrology videos, check out my channel. But anyway, I'll leave you alone now. But thanks for watching.